And we are back, and we just finished watching All Quiet on the Western Front from 2022, rated R, with a runtime of 2 hours and 28 minutes. This is currently streaming on Netflix. This is a Netflix original, I believe, directed by Edward Berger, with screenplay credits to Edward Berger, Lesley, Paterson, Ian Stokell, and it's based on a book by Erich Maria Remarque. This is the story of a young man named Paul Baumer.
Yeah, I think that Baumer,
who goes to war all fresh-faced and big-eyed and excited because he feels like he's doing something good for his country, and quickly realizes the horrors of war. This is definitely an anti-war movie.
Yeah.
And it is told from the vantage point of a young German soldier.
During World War I.
During World War I, yes. I feel like war movies are kind of hit or miss. Like, I didn't really care for Dunkirk. I was like, about 1917. But this I really, really enjoyed. I mean, it's probably one of the more depressing things we've seen in a while. But I found the story compelling. I found the characters interesting. It really hurt my heart when certain characters met their demise. And the ending of this is devastating.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely does not glorify anything. Like the movies you mentioned before, those don't take place during like the bulk of the war, showing the end, and also from the losing side. Those are like, oh, we're engaged in a battle, we have to succeed in our mission, and hooray, we've succeeded.
Yeah.
So at the end, there is sort of like...
lining.
those films also deal with the horrors of war. Characters are dying. You're seeing the sacrifices being made. But at the end, there is that bit of glory. There is no glory. And that's the thing about this story, and especially about World War I. World War I taught a lot of people that, there is no glory in this. World War I was especially brutal because World War I was the war where they decided, hey, let's build really terrible things. It's where tanks came. It's where chemical weapons were developed.
Right.
And the whole concept of trench warfare was, like they say at the end, pretty much when the war began, the lines were where they were when they finished.
Yeah.
And all those people died. Like
For absolutely no reason.
For nothing. Absolutely nothing. A couple of 100 meters of dirt.
Yeah.
So many people died. And the concept of how it was fought, is okay, we're going to stay in our trench. And then at some point, we're just going to charge. And I would say half of the people died.
At least.
On a successful mission.
Yeah.
Half of them would die. More than half, probably. And on a failed mission, all of them would die. And then the other side would be like, all right, over the wall, boys.
No.
There was no glory, and that realization comes
fairly
really
quickly.
quick. I mean, as soon as they get there, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even get a ride all the way to the front. They get stopped.
The medic is like, I
need the truck to take the bodies back.
Yeah.
So they have to march the rest of the way, and once they get there, it's like, okay, start shoveling water. You're freezing. I know, whatever. Just start shoveling water, and then, oh, okay, over the wall, boys.
Yeah.
It was just horrifying.
Yeah. And in the beginning, the cat character says every day is like the same.
Yeah. It's just pure monotony, just doing this every single time. And
to the point where I think you become desensitized. Or you have to in order to survive.
You have
in a way.
Like, you see some of the soldiers cracking up when they're hiding in the bunker, and they're basically, I guess they're being mortar shelled or something, and he's like screaming for his mom.
Yeah, that was sad.
And it's sad because you see these. How many were there? Like 5 guys?
I think it was 4 originally. The four friends.
4 original friends.
Albert, Franz, Ludwig, and Paul.
Yeah, they're all like super psyched. I mean, Paul fakes his mother's signature on the consent form
to go to war.
And then there's the principal of the school is just like, you're fighting for the fatherland and the Kaiser and all this stuff.
Yeah,
and they're all like, yeah, let's go.
But that's the other thing that I find really reprehensible about these types of situations is like you mentioned the principal, and it's like, well, you're not going to war, a-hole.
No, he's a fat old man.
And Dr. Robotnik at the end, he's not going to war either.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, every time I kept seeing him, I kept thinking you should be in the Sonic movie.
He was that goddamn general was just, if you don't do this, you're a bunch of cowards.
Yeah, and he had his own people killed.
Yeah, peace was already declared.
Right.
It's just like,
but we're going to go out in a blaze of glory.
Right until the last minute. Right until the last minute, you're going to go and you're going to prove that you're not cowards.
Yeah.
And the guys who said, I ain't doing that, they get shot immediately.
Yeah.
And see, I don't know why. I mean, a bunch of the guys in the audience had their rifles. I would have just aimed it at that terrorist and blown that
guy's head off. Yeah.
Shoot me. Go ahead. Shoot me. I'm going to kill this freaking guy before I go because he's a piece of crap.
Yeah. And it's funny because in that previous scene when he's talking to the other guy, he's like, my father fought in like 3 wars successfully, and that was the problem. We got soft because it was 50 years without war.
Peace.
Yeah.
I was born too late.
Yeah. And I'm like, what are you doing except sitting here?
Yeah, if you're so keen on the glory of war, why are you sitting in a mansion shoveling sausage and eggs into your face every day?
Yeah, go on the front lines with the rest of your crew. Piece of crap.
Yeah, just absolute fucking garbage of a man.
Absolutely. So I remember there was, I think there's been a couple of remakes of this. I think this is one of many. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there was one, was it in the 60s or the 70s?
I don't know.
I don't remember it. I know I saw it once. I couldn't tell you a damn thing about it.
I read the book, and I can't tell you. I read it in college, and I remember liking it a lot, but it was one of those books that they made you read for college. I think I finished it in like 2 days. It was a pretty thick book, but...
Was it interesting?
I don't remember. I was very interested. I don't remember anything about it, and the funny thing is I'm watching this movie, and none of it is like ringing a bell for me. I remember The Painted Bird.
Oh, that's another
way more
book
than I remember this one. But
that's also another depressing war book, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very depressing war, but that's told from the perspective of a child. Yeah, I mean,
not for nothing, but Paul, for all intents and purposes, is still a child. I mean, he's like 17, 18 when he goes into the war.
Yeah. They're
babies.
They're all like thin, pencil-necked little kids, pretty much.
It's so sad.
And like at the end, when they go to I guess they're heading towards the chateau that douchebag Dr. Robotnik general was. That kid hops off the thing. He looks even younger.
Yeah.
He looked like he was a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And that's the guy that Paul saves his life at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, overall, I like this movie. I thought it was good. It was long.
It was long, but it was good. I mean, I was invested in it. The production values are beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting, these scenes of intense carnage, basically, intercut with like these beautiful natural landscapes, right?
Yeah, I mean, the cinematography on this was excellent.
Excellent.
And everybody's performance was good.
Fantastic.
Everything looked authentic.
The layers and layers of dirt.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
they really showed the absolute filth that these people were going
and they're drinking that dirty mud water. I'm like, how does everybody not have dysentery and pink eye? When he's rubbing his eyes, I'm like, I almost like gagged. I was like, oh.
Yeah, and the way he looked in that pit with the French shoulder.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He was like just completely covered in filth.
I mean, it almost looked reptilian, right?
Yeah.
The layer
and I think
of just caked on mud.
I mean, and that scene is like important because you really see Paul realize that this is for nothing. This person that I'm fighting isn't a monster. It isn't some sort of propaganda poster. It's a legitimate living person, and he's watching this guy suffer.
Yeah, it took that guy a long time to die.
And he tries to help him at the end. And then he looks in his pockets and he sees that he's he was like a typographer. He had a wife and kid. these are real people, and what are you fighting for? A couple of yards of mud that is going to be ceded back to the enemy the following day.
Yeah.
And it was everything was just a complete seriously. I can't imagine having been in World War One, and they didn't even show. I mean, they did sort of show the aftermath of a gas attack, but they didn't show anybody actually dying of gas attack, which would have been just even absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just back then they did not have any kind of rules for war, so it was absolutely brutal. People are being set on fire, gassed, crushed by tanks.
Yeah, this was to me at least. I'm not that I dislike history or anything, but I don't go and seek out these types of movies. I think prior to this, maybe sounds almost stupid to say favorite war movie, but I think the movie about this topic that I liked a lot is Saving Private Ryan. And watching this, I thought about that movie as well. And there are no winners, right? I mean, whether you die on the battlefield or whether you come home, it's still just so devastating because, how do you go back to civilian life after having seen all these horrors and having experienced all this stuff and having to kill, like you said, another human being? I mean, that's just so wild.
And see your childhood friends just
die
in front of you.
One by one. Yeah, I mean, do we know what happened with Albert? I know that Ludwig was the first one to go. Franz gets killed off screen somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what happened to Albert. Was he set on fire? Was he the one that was set on fire?
Oh, maybe. Yes. I think you're right. He was the one that was at the tank and then running.
Yeah, and he falls right before the big puddle.
Right. You're right. Okay. So we do know what happened to Albert. This is not an easy watch. This is absolutely not an easy watch. I mean, even though it's all staged and it's a film and stuff, but it is powerful. The scenes in here are very impactful. And I think that this is absolutely anti-war. Absolutely, without a doubt. I think there's no glorification at all. Yeah.
You see the futility of it.
Yeah.
And at the end, what did they get? They got nothing. Germany was basically destroyed at that point. Right. And they
had to make all these huge concessions.
And Daniel Bruhl was the only guy who realized what was important and what was happening.
And what was at stake.
But he was basically hey, this sucks, but if we do it now,
it'll suck less.
If we do it right now, at least we'll have saved a generation of people. Yeah. Because if they kept it going, they were going to send another load of high school kids to the front. Yeah. And he's just we got to, 72 hours? What the hell are we waiting 72 hours? Let's just sign this freaking thing right now.
Well, and also he has the experience of having buried a child. So, I mean, you don't really get too much of him, but the glimpses that you see are very illuminating as well. And this movie, on all cylinders, again, it's very long. To me, it's very depressing. Yeah. But it's absolutely worth a watch. Absolutely. I think if you want to pair it with another movie, a really good anti-war movie, not as graphic as this, is Kubrick's Paths of Glory with Kirk Douglas. I think that movie, it's about war, but it's about other stuff that happens as well. I think the main story there is how Kirk Douglas tries to go to bat for two people in his battalion and how basically they're at the whim of this upper echelon guy and they're sent to their demise at the very end. Yeah. So it just really, movies like that are great. Saving Private Ryan, I think, is one of the better war movies as well. Also, messages of how devastating this is. I mean, especially in those wars, right? The First and the Second World War, you're sending children.
Yeah, you're sending whole families of kids, and I mean that's true of all of them. I mean, since the dawn of time, it's always the younger and the less fortunate and the poor who get sent into the grinder first. Sure. Saving Private Ryan, that also is sad, but the mission is accomplished at the end, right? Right. So that they're not glorifying war by any means, but at least there's a happy kind of ending. There is no happy ending.
No, none at all.
It's just war is hell, and that's it. Period. Done.
Yeah.
There is no coming. Oh, we completed the mission. Yay.
Yeah.
I don't even remember any of like the missions they had other than run across the field.
Yeah.
And I really don't think they accomplished it. Probably the only thing they accomplished was stealing that dude's goose.
Yeah.
And that was it. And that was like the one bright point in that movie that they actually got to eat a goose.
Yeah.
Outside of that, there were no grand battles. They didn't take the hill or anything like that or save somebody or whatever. It was just brutal.
Yeah. From start to finish.
From the very start to the finish, you saw this sort of like
the nightmare of war.
This quest for glory in the eyes of these young, idealistic kids just gets snuffed out almost immediately. It's like as soon as they're there, they realize this isn't quite like what I was expecting.
Right.
And it goes from shoveling water out of a pit to
shoveling
just
graves,
digging graves, seeing all of their comrades dead. Yeah, it's just brutal. And even then, even when you think, oh, we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. No, there is no.
Yeah.
There is no.
Yes, this was definitely it was a tough watch, but again, I think a worthwhile watch. Do you think this is going to be nominated for an Oscar? I feel like this is Oscar worthy.
Maybe like they put it in foreign film. I don't know if they're gonna give it to one of the.
Well, you could also do
the main categories.
You can also do like sound, costuming.
Oh yeah, I mean possibly for those aspects.
Adapted screenplay.
I thought you meant like best film or something like that.
I mean, best foreign film. I mean, it is.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I could see it clearly being nominated for best foreign film, but I don't know about. Well, I mean,
although Bong Joon's was nominated for best foreign and best, I think, regular film. So,
but was this ever released in a theater?
I believe it was.
Oh, it was? Okay,
yeah.
Well then it's got a chance.
I think Netflix is now doing this thing where it's in a theater for a week just so that it can get Oscar contention. Yeah. Yeah. This was released a few months ago, but still just a worthwhile watch and deeply impactful. I love movie violence.
This isn't that kind.
But this isn't that. This is obviously based on someone's.
This isn't the kind that this is not glorifying or pretty in any way.
Yeah, this isn't like fun violence. This is the hell of war.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and it's the recollections of this man who went through this. I'm gonna give this an 8.5. I think from where it starts to where it ends, it's beautifully told. The production values are wonderful. The story is compelling. All the actors really, really good, especially the young man who plays Paul, Felix Kammerer. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name, but just kudos to him and Kat, who broke my heart. Yeah, 8.5. What are you going to give this?
I think I'll give it an 8.
An 8?
That's good.
Okay, what could have made it better?
I don't know.
Shorter?
8 is a good score. I don't
know. No, just saying.
There's nothing wrong with an 8.
I'm just saying. I'm just wondering if there was room for something more.
No, it's just this isn't the type of movie that I would normally watch to be entertained. This is something that's going to affect you, make you think, and
it's not a happy movie.
It's not a happy movie. You're not going to see this for its entertainment value. Yeah. Okay. So 8.
8. Okay, fair enough. I give it an 8.5. I definitely, if you haven't seen it, if you are a student of history, I think this is absolutely a worthwhile watch. It's beautiful and gut-wrenching at the same time. All Quiet on the Western Front from 2022, rated R with a runtime of 2 hours and 28 minutes. This is streaming on Netflix and directed by Edward Berger. Go check it out. And that's it from us, and we will bid you all a
good night.